Hello, it's Chops. I'm having horrible weather here in Georgia, so I am cleaning my gear. And it was brought to my attention that that might be a great topic for the YouTube channel. Well, you should be here. This is exciting stuff. Let me get my products and let me get a piece of leather, and I'm going to show you how to clean your leather gear. So the thing about cleaning leather is that it's important to point out that leather is skin from an animal, and it's much like our skin where it's porous and it needs to be kind of treated as such. Well, the first thing that we got to do is we've got to get a good saddle soap, is what the cowboys use actually on their saddles, their tack gear, and it is very, very, very good for motorcycle gear as well. That is leather. And to give you an example of what happens, this, I don't know if we can see it in this light, is my heavy weather gauntlet. It's kind of faded. You can see at the fingertips that it's just been bleached by the sun, down by the cuff. It's worn pretty bad. Now, that's an uncleaned and treated one, and I have just done this one, and it looks so much better. What the saddle soap does is it actually absorbs into it, and then through the cleaning and buffing and working process, you're actually forcing it into the material and thus the pores of the leather. So that's the concept here. We are treating skin for longevity. I have a couple of products here, and I don't specifically have a brand that I'm loyal to. Kiwi makes the most popular one. You can find this at any box store, shoe store, just about anywhere. But here in Georgia, we actually have a lot of tack type horse places, equine, kind of places. And I was able to pick up this brand. And on all of these, they have instructions on them. Basically, they all work the same. They're a natural type of soap that's safe to use on leather, especially dyed leather. So the process is to get a wet towel and kind of work the material or the paste into a lather, and then you're going to apply it onto the leather, and then you're going to let it dry. You come back with a separate towel or terry cloth, if you will, and you kind of take the lather or the sheen off of it, and it makes it really, really kind of nice and look. And I'll give a little demonstration of that. Now, that's what the directions say to do. Over the years, I have found that it is actually better, it's a benefit if you actually clean your leather first. For example, wipes. Back in the day when I started doing this, I found that if I took some warm water and put some Dawn in it and just mixed it up with like a dish sponge and then kind of wiped my gear down, let it dry, and I wasn't using a lot of water, like it would dry in 5 minutes, and then I could start the process of the saddle soap on the leather jacket or the chaps or the tracksuit or whatever it is that I was cleaning. That typically renders me better results. Now, let me go ahead and say that this is not maybe a video of what you should do or how it's supposed to be done. This is just a video of how I do it, and this is what works for me. Of course, I can tell you, you might want to use some gloves as you're applying this on, because it is a soapy chemical kind of thing. I don't, but there you are. Safety first. I'm gonna grab my crusty jacket, and I'm going to show you how this stuff works and the end result of it. Look at this. Look at this guy. This guy is beat up. Let's see if I can show you some of this. Look how worn that is. Now, ironically, this is fashion, right? Everywhere I go, people want this jacket. It is the retro style without the belt, so I don't ding up my gas tank. And it has been my pillow. It has been my blanket. Heck, I think I've even pawned this thing for food a couple of times. But this is pretty beat up. This is really, really beat up. And I am not the best at taking care of my gear. And I believe I typically do a cleaning on my jacket, my chaps, and my gloves probably twice a year. I should probably do it every other month as much as I ride. But this is going to be the demonstration. As you can kind of see, I'm going to try and lay it out here. I have better results if I zip up the jacket. You can do this on a couch. You can do this on a bed, pool table, anywhere that, you know, your mama will let you do it. And let me go ahead before I get this started. People are asking me, how do I know that it's not going to take out the dye? Well, you don't. Actually, it is kind of common knowledge for most people who work with leather that the dye is constantly coming out of the skin. That's how they get the color into it. So don't be surprised if you put some of this on and you mark and you wipe it off and you have a little bit of dye on there. If I wanted to test the product first, I would probably find a piece of the collar like so on the underside of it, and I do a little test piece and then try it that way. If I had a European type style leather jacket where it has no collar, I would unzip it and do it on the inside of the jacket. Kind of like much like construction, where you're trying to do a test area first. Just find a place that's not visible, give it a go and see what happens. So of course, I'm going to use my wipes to get down with this. And I'm just going to start, I like to start with it zipped up, and I start from the shoulders and I come down. I undo my snaps. And I'm just wiping it down with these body wipes to get most of the grime off. I'm not trying to win a good housekeeping seal of approval on it. I'm just trying to give what I'm about to put on there a little extra advantage as far as fighting the dirt. This jacket was gifted to me probably about 15 years ago, and who knows how many miles it had on it before I got a hold of it. And I think it's also kind of, this is not probably the best jacket in the world. Honestly, if I were to go down in this jacket, it would probably disintegrate. But it's endearing to me. I have an attachment to it. But this probably will be its last year on the road for me. I think what I'm going to do is gift it to my niece so she can put like rock pins and studs all over it. It's kind of nice. It's ironic that this is what people like for fashion, but as far as form and function and a biker, it's not that desirable. And there are some too that believe that because it doesn't have armor in it, it is not a piece of protective gear, which I think that is subjective thinking. I think that this is a heavy quality piece of leather, keeps the wind off of me, keeps me warm, and yeah, I might break an elbow or something if I went down, but it's sufficient as far as road armor goes. All right. Next step in this process is to take my saddle sew. So basically, I have wetted a towel, and I like to use a white one. I don't typically like to use paper towels or anything that's going to leave a little bit of a lint, so a good quality washcloth. I like white so I can kind of see if I am removing it. Now you'll notice I'm taking it and I'm working the center of the paste into kind of like a lather. And I don't want it to be chunky when I put it on there. So I put it on the cloth like this. Again, like I started to wipe. from the top of the shoulder blades. I now start working it into the material. And let me get to a spot where you can actually see what I'm doing here. Let's start right here with the zipper. I'm trying to go around all the metal, the zipper, and work it in to the skin. You'll kind of notice on your own leather, you probably can't see it in this video, but it is sucking it up because this is very dry. Did not do a very good job this year at taking care of my leather. I think it's a safe thing to go ahead and tell you to put it on liberally. As you noticed on this particular jacket, I have a lot of dry areas on there, so there's nothing wrong with maybe reapplying or going a little heavy, so to speak. I also wanted to point out, you see how this collar is shredded? You see that? All along there. You know what that's from? That's from wearing a hat backwards under my novelty helmet and turning my head back and forth. It slices that. So now you know why bikers curl the bills of their baseball caps. It's not just a fashion thing. There's always a reason for everything. So that's the front. I'm going to let it sit on there and dry as I do the back, which really, really needs it. 2-finger trick. Work up a little paste. Start from the collar down, from the shoulder blades, from the opposite side. Oh yeah, and it's just soaking it all up. Poor jacket. Now, how do you know when you need to clean it? Well, typically, and I know that there are club members out there with full patch status that will probably tell you that there's a regimented time that you're supposed to clean this. I would assume that every other month of full-time riding is probably good. But I think it also comes down to the conditions in which you're riding in. I wear my jacket all year round, so it is constantly being bombarded by UV rays in the summertime. And, you know, inclement weather during the winter and wet seasons down here in Georgia. I should probably be cleaning my stuff monthly, and I do not, as evidenced by the jacket. But as you can kind of see, as I work this in, it's just sucking this soap into the pores. This particular stuff does not have an odor to it, which is nice. The kiwi, I think, has a little bit of a smell to it, but it's not unpleasant. It smells leathery. Now, I used to be really particular about like the wrinkles and creases in the stitch work here. When I get a little bit of soap in there and it kind of clumped up, that would irritate me. I did not like the way that that looked, so I would come back with a soft bristle brush, much like if you were waxing your bike or putting something pasty on it, you come back and try to clean that out so it's not unsightly. I learned that if you leave it there, it actually absorbs into the leather. So I'm not so upset anymore about that when that happens. All right, so that's the back. Let's get to the money right here. Can you see this? Oh my God, look at that. That is just incredible. But people like it. People like this look. Everywhere I go, McDonald's, Walmart. Oh, that's a cool jacket. I love that jacket. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. He's about 25 years old. It's older than you are. Now look at that. As you can kind of see, those brown spots are thirsty. And that's what that is. Can you see that? Let's do a little bit more. Let's take it down around over here. Oh yeah. And this is where I take a little bit more extra time and I apply more because obviously it needs it. Okay. And that's working out to be a pretty good demonstration for you on how that works. Now, much like you're trying to iron a shirt that doesn't really fit on the board, you're going to want to kind of move stuff as you need it to move and just keep piling it on there. One coat is typically sufficient in my mind, but I'm also, like, if I'm in an area that seems like this sleeve was really drier than, say, the front part of the jacket, I'm going to spend more paste or more soap on that area and push it into that as I'm going. I have seen other people have a system of, like, you know, like they're putting it on, they're buffing it off, they put more on, they buff it off, whatever works for you. The basic premises of this is to treat the whole piece of gear with this soap, you know, so that it's nice. You can kind of get the point of what I'm doing here. And I think the next thing to do is to kind of stop rambling and cut to the part where I'm actually in the second phase of this. And for that, we'll need a separate cloth, not wet, no soap. What a difference. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking a towel that is not wet and doesn't have any of the paste on it, the saddle soap, and I'm kind of buffing off the residue, if you will. But ironically, this particular piece of leather, my jacket, took most of it into it, so there's not much, but it does give a nice shimmer and shine when you go over it with a towel. It makes it feel soft too. Very, very, very nice. Very nice. And what a difference. Remember that back, the way that looked? Remember that shoulder, the way that it looked? And of course, obviously, I can't do too much about the pieces of actual skin that have left or been burnt off, but what a big difference that makes. It almost makes it look like not so old. And again, that's also a very good sign that you need to treat your leathers when you get those crusty brown spots. You know, that's a fairly good sign that it's time to get some saddle soap on it. So the process is wipes, and we wipe down the piece of leather that you're wanting to treat with saddle soap. Once it's dry, you get a wet rag, but wring it out to where it's not dripping wet. You then use the wet rag and the saddle soap paste, and you apply it in any particular manner that you want to. Dry spots you should probably spend a little bit more time on, and just kind of keep making sure that it's all worked in. There's no particular, you can use spirals, you can work it in left or right. There's no rules to any of that stuff. At least it was never explained to me like that. And then the final stage of the process is take a dry, uncontaminated towel and kind of buff off any remnants that might be left. My jacket was so dry that it took it all, basically. So I'm just going over it, and you can kind of see. Remember that shoulder there? Yeah, it's still kind of old and comfortable, but it doesn't look all gnarly and black like it used to. Anyway, if you have any advice that you'd like to add about cleaning leather, please feel free to throw it in the comments section. If you like motorcycle tips, tricks, technology, reviews, and onboard videos, then go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and turn on the bell, and I will be back with another video of motorcycle related content. Till then, ride safe, ride sober.